Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to week 4 here in CU 101. Chef Matthew and I welcome you to another fine live session. It's great to see all these faces out there. It's great to see all these jackets. I love everybody wearing hats out there. Jacqueline's got one on. Let's see, Sharon's got one on. Julie's got one on. Blake, that's awesome. All you guys are fantastic. So thank you so much. Is it going by fast for everybody? Can you guys believe it's week 4? Is it going by fast? Yes? No? Yeah? Thanks, Rachel. That's a nice smile. I like that. She's up there. Yeah, that's awesome. That's fantastic. This course goes by extremely quick. Once we get to week 12, Chef Matthew and I are going to be asking you a bunch of questions about how this went for you. You will be surprised at the amount of growth that you will have between now and week 12. Your knife skills, you're going to be flipping saute pans, all that other kind of good stuff. Is everybody learning stuff so far? You learning a little bit? Opening your eyes to what's going on out there? Yeah. I have to commend this class. Chef Matthew and I have been buried with phone calls and text messages, which is awesome. A lot of you are reaching out, communicating, asking questions when you're not sure about things. That gets us very excited. That's our job, so don't be afraid to pick up the phone and call. We are here to help you. That's what we do. So good job, everybody, on that. How did everybody like week 3? Yeah? Yeah? Jason, what about you? Jason's like halfway. Yeah? Robert, what's up with that, man? Yeah. Yeah. Week 3. Robert, what happened in week 3? Why didn't you like it?
I up on the stock somewhere along the line. And plus I've been working these crazy hours on my job, and it's just been a hectic week for me. So it's kind of
everything all at once, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, man. We're going to talk about that. We had a look at Rudy up there. He's down. No. Rudy, it's pretty good, man. What happened, Rudy?
I think what happened was with my stock, I think I accidentally, when I was doing ice bath and I was filling it up, I actually got a little bit of stuck. So I think I overwatered it by accident.
Yeah.
It didn't gellify like it was supposed to.
Yeah.
That was fun.
We had we had that issue with a couple of students this week. The chicken stock overall, and Chef Matthew is going to follow up on this in just a moment, came out fantastic. Chicken stock, if you add too much water, so if the ratio of water to bones is too high, it should only be covered just a couple of inches. And if it's too high, you're gonna that collagen is going to be dispersed too thin into the liquid, and you're not going to get that gelatinized effect that you're looking for. Last week, we also talked about, chicken wings and chicken feet in the stock because they have such high levels of cartilage on the meat, and a lot of that collagen is hidden within the cartilage, and that will really help gellify your stock. If it didn't gellify you on this week, don't lose any sleep over it. This is culinary school, and it's okay, right? This is where we make those kind of mistakes. This is where we're here to talk about it, so when you do get into industry, you're not making those kind of mistakes. Chicken stock, once again, what a great way to generate additional profit, and it's much healthier for your customers. Has anybody out there ever read the back of a container of like soup base, one of those Swiss Nors? Have you guys ever read? Can anybody pronounce 12-syllable words? Because that's what's on the back of those containers, right? And if you can't pronounce it, you probably shouldn't eat it, right? So we always push making your stocks from scratch. In industry, I was telling somebody, they were asking about the mirepoix, and can you add other vegetable scraps? Yes, you can. You want to avoid using things like beets and fennel, things that are going to color or add additional flavors to your stock. But in industry, what we do is we keep very clean garbage cans in our freezers. Our freezers are walk-in. They're quite massive, about the size of your bedroom, and we'll keep a garbage can in there. And as we peel onions, as we peel carrots, as we clean celery, we put all those scraps into that bucket inside the freezer. When it comes time to make the stock, boom, the whole bucket goes in there. And so that's how we save a little bit of money in industry. How did everybody like the minestrone? Yeah, Blake liked it. Rachel, there you go, Rudy. Rudy's doing better. Jason, Jacqueline, good. Yeah, Amber, I like that. Paul, you liked it. Julie liked it.
It sure looks good, Chef. It's hard for me to grade when I'm hungry with every single one. It's like, man, the minestrone look great.
You guys have no idea how tough it is to grade these assignments when you're looking at minestrone, eggs, pasta dishes all day long. You know, it's tough. Did anybody make pot pie out of the veloute? Yeah? Did it come out pretty good? Yeah? That is a great sauce to keep in your repertoire. I guarantee you when you get into industry, especially if you're working in the hotel environment, you're going to be working with all the different mother sauces, right? You've got your veloute, your bechamel, your tomato, your espagnole, your hollandaise. Those sauces you're going to make repetitively throughout your career. So you need to make sure that you really focus on those techniques. Really, really critical. Discussion board last week. You guys wrote some incredible information in there, and I was really impressed. The number one thing that I picked up on that you guys picked up on was cross-contamination, which is a critical issue in the kitchen. You may think it's a little bit trivial to yourselves right now, but once you get into industry, this is something that we thrive on. We are far more concerned about sanitation than we are quality, because quality starts with sanitation. So trust me, you guys are really going to be involved in these sanitation issues. So make sure you stay focused on it. Before I forget, this week's discussion board is not a traditional discussion board. You must complete the discussion board no later than Saturday this week in order to receive full credit. It is a reflection sheet of last week's discussion forum. So we're going to take a look at that here in just a moment. So it is slightly different this week than it was last week. So, Chef Matthew, how's the garden, buddy?
Oh man, that's good. Actually, it's not. It's too cold outside. So my garden's just like going south. I'm getting ready to just raise it and throw it all in the trash. And I know, okay, you're not asking me about my garden. Hey, uniforms are looking better and better. Everybody's, I don't think I saw any toes yet from the week 3 assignments. I have a few more to grade, but I don't think I've seen any toes yet.
Oh, thank God, man.
Knife cuts are looking good, considering that you're putting that into a soup. And I know some of you have heard me say it, but you know, every spoon of that soup goes right past people's eyes. They see it on their way into their mouth. You may not even think about it because, you know, maybe you don't work at a restaurant or you've never made soup before, but people see that food and they will notice it. If those cuts are all over the place, you know, they may not notice it. If they're beautiful, they're going to notice that those cuts are beautiful. So the knife cuts are looking good. Sanitation's looking good. Still want to make sure everybody understands that that strip that you dip in, the color of it has to match between 50 and 100 parts per million. So that little canister thing that comes with the strips in it, just lay that down right in front of your sani bucket and dip the strip in and then put it right on top, and it should match right between there. If it doesn't match, if it's too strong or too weak, I don't want to see it. I want to see it done right. So just throw that strip away, fix your solution, dip it again until it's right, and then take a picture of that, because I need to know you know how to make a good sani bucket.
Yeah.
Sounds
trivial, ladies and gentlemen, but when you get into industry and that inspector walks up and he sticks his little thing inside your bucket, you're going to be thinking about Chef Matthew, and it's going to be going, is it between 50 and 100 parts per million? It's going to happen. Trust me.
Hey, I still have chefs from my training. I still have chefs from, I know I'm kind of old guys, but I have chefs from the 80s and 90s still rattling around in my head.
They don't go away.
From them. It won't go away.
Yeah.
Sorry, it won't go away.
Yeah.
and there's still some technical issues. I want to make sure everybody is submitting with the Google folders. Make sure that you give me one link, and then I open that one link, and then I find all the stuff that I need. Let's see. I've seen a couple personal folders, and I don't need to see that. So I just stick to the stuff that is only class related, and make sure week 1 is week 1 and week 2 is week 2, and just kind of double check that stuff for me. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. How's the you said the uniforms are looking pretty good?
Yeah, looking better and better.
Hey, ladies and gents, check it out. Beginning this week, it is imperative that when you take your self-identification photo, that you hold up how do I say this? The amount of fingers that signify the week, right? So as you're taking your self-identification photo this week, please make sure that you're holding up 4 fingers to signify week 4. We do run into a little bit of problem after week 10 though. So you can simply write down on a piece of paper and write week 10. These are not things that we do not do in industry. This is an industry thing. Professional appearance is critical. So beginning here forward, we need to make sure that we are holding up 4 fingers to signify the week, right? So next week will be 5, then 6, then 7. Then once we get to past 10, then we'll work that out. So it's critical. How are the hats looking?
They're better and better. I'm not real strict on it absolutely being the Escoffier issue hat. I probably should be more strict on that, shouldn't I, Chef?
As long as we're not walking around with sombreros and Wisconsin cheesehead hats, I'm fine with it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That could be a sanitation hazard.
Yeah.
Cross-contamination.
Yeah, no sombreros. Yeah, other than that, we're fine.
But I know some people don't have their uniform yet, so there's still a couple of those. Okay. And that's understandable. That's not your fault.
If you do not have your uniform yet, please call Student Services, or if you're missing any tools out of your toolkit or have not received your toolkit, 877-224-8576. Student Services will be more so than glad to help you out, tell you exactly where the stuff is. Chef Matthew and I are not the best people to ask that, so they will certainly get you the answer to your question. Anything else, Chef Matthew?
My dad takes karate. I don't know.
He does?
I said a lot of stuff. I feel like I said too much. Did I say too much?
No. I want to find out about your dad and the karate.
I'm just kidding. I do have a question though, and I want to see a show of hands or some thumbs up. Does everybody listen to my videos that I put on the feedback? Thumbs up. Thumbs up. Okay, because it's cool. Okay, good. Because it's kind of like the live session or the archive. If you miss it, you're going to miss some important stuff. And we want to get you important information so that you can succeed. So sometimes I blabber a little bit, but at least I'll admit that, okay? So are they too long? No? Okay. I try and keep them short, respect your time. Okay, thank you.
All right, ladies and gents, just a quick reminder, should you have any type of challenges with your, you don't understand your weekly assignment, you have culinary related questions, you have life issues going on, you can't make this, you can't make that, reach out to me, Chef Warren, 520-276-6281. My number's on the right-hand side of the class page. And then as well, if you have any questions regarding your assignment or your particular evaluation or your grade regarding your assignment, please reach out to Chef Matthew. His phone number is on the right-hand side of the class page. And it is important that if you have any technical related questions, Chef Matthew and I are not the best people in the world to ask. We can answer anything about food, but when it comes to technical related questions, the right people to call is technical support, 877-224-8576. Or you can hit the help button on top of the class page, and there is a lot of very valuable information in there to help you out. So, moving on to our next little piece of information before we get into our assignment. I wanted to remind everybody, your recommended week at Escoffier should go as this. There have been a lot of people that have reached out to me on Tuesday night saying, hey, chef, you know what? I'm trying to get my assignment done and I got this problem, right? That is procrastination. Do not do that. Chefs always work way ahead of the curve. If we have a banquet on Saturday, we're done on Thursday with it, and we're working on the one for Monday. That is a habit that you need to develop now, and it's not something that we want you to do. It's something you need to do to succeed in industry. So when we say your assignment should be submitted on Sunday, yeah, really, it should be, because this way, if Chef Matthew sends it back to you, you've got some time to respond to it. Wednesdays, ladies and gentlemen, you should be attending the live session. Thank you, everybody, for attending. And then you should also be completing your knowledge check on Wednesdays. Get it done, submit it, put it out of the way. If you devote a little bit of time each day to this course, you will succeed and walk out of here with 100%. It's when you wait to the last minute to do your assignments that you run into troubles. Thursday, complete your discussion post. Get it done, right? Submit it. It takes 15, 20 minutes at the most. And boom, it's out of the way. You get 100%, all the points. Friday, sit down with a cup of joe, plan out your assignment, right? Take a look at your shopping list. Hey, I can do this on Saturday. It's going to take me about 2 hours. Hey, it's going to take me about an hour to get everything submitted. I got to fill out my narrative. That's going to take me 30 minutes. Plan it out. That's what chefs do, right? Friday or Saturday, go in your kitchen, produce your assignment, right? Get it done, because on Friday you got it all planned out so you know what you're doing on Saturday. And then on Sunday, go through your assignment. Sit down, check it off against the rubric, and submit it no later than Sunday to Chef Matthew. This way, Chef Matthew is awake all night Sunday night. And I like that, because this way you can kick back and wait for your assignment to come back to you on Monday and Tuesday and make any adjustments that you have to make based on what his recommendations are. So, and then on Monday and Tuesday, for a traditional discussion forum, you'd make 2 responses to each, to another student's response or posting, and you'll be fine. However, if you wait till Tuesday to do everything, boom, it's a mess. Spread it out, amortize it over the week, right? Chefs always work ahead of the game, and that's what we're really focused on. This course, before we move on to the next subject, I don't want to lecture too much, but requires a lot of commitment, and you have to follow your passion. You're chasing your dream. You're building your tomorrow. Stick with it, and you're going to succeed. Trust me. That's what it's all about. Makeup assignments, ladies and gents. Got a lot of people saying, hey, I can't submit. I didn't have this. I didn't have that. I need more time. Chef, please. We have 3 makeup assignments that are available during the course. They're now open. So if you're unable to get your assignment done for one reason or another, utilize the makeup assignment. Submit it. You get 100% credit. There's no penalty for submitting late. Any questions about that? Let's answer a quick question or two, Chef Matthew. How about Amber? What's going on?
I just have a question about the week 4 assignment. I just have a question about that.
Okay, let's, will you raise your hand here in a few minutes? We're going to go through the week 4 assignment here in just a couple of minutes.
Okay, cool.
All right, how about Royce? What's up, Royce?
I'm trying to unmute. Okay, so I have a question about the sanitation bucket.
Sure.
So I'm new to the industry, but I'm a little OCD, so I'm used to cleaning as I go with hot water and everything. So I know you said the inspector may come along and stick his strip in the bucket.
Correct.
So I notice as I'm wiping and cleaning up, as I'm cooking, I'm using the sanitation bucket.
Mm-hmm.
But I all of a sudden decide I'll just stick a test strip in there myself. So it's no longer within that range that's clean. So what is it that we're supposed to do with that bucket as we're going along and we're using that solution?
Okay,
do we what at some point, or what do we do?
Right, technically with bleach, you are required to change that bucket out every 4 hours.
Okay.
And that, because the bleach dies. Once you dilute the bleach into the water and it's exposed to light rays, UV rays,
right,
and the temperature, it begins to dilute and weaken. So a lot of times the inspector will check it at the time that you create the liquid.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but after 4 hours, it's got to go bye-bye.
Okay. All right. Okay, that makes sense. Thank you.
Cool. All right. Let's see. What do we got going on with Sharon with an S? Sharon. Oh, Sharon.
You. Here we go.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Sorry, technical difficulties. I had a question about the assignment, but I can always come back to that later after we go over it.
Yeah, if it's a week 4 question, we're going to go through all that in detail right now. We're going to put on our seatbelts and start going fast here in just a moment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Alicia, what's up?
Crash helmets too.
Yeah. Can you just repeat that about the makeup assignments? I missed week 3. I
Okay.
didn't have enough ingredients and stuff, so there was no way to substitute for what I had, and it basically wouldn't have made the dish. I did the whole chicken stock, but I knew in the velouté sauce that you have to use the chicken stock.
Correct.
It didn't set well or nothing, so my pictures just came out crap. Everything just went downhill, so I just was going to use it for the makeup and try to figure out how to do it to get all the points.
There are times when that happens, and what you get 3 makeup assignments. So say you missed week 3, you use a makeup assignment, you have 2 left, right? So that's the way this works. You don't get penalized for doing that. We understand in the program that there are life events. We try to limit the amount of drama and the amount of problems that we have because we have to make your future a priority, right? It has to be your commitment, your passion. So if you have a problem like some people did this week, it's okay to utilize one of those makeup assignments. Just be conscientious of the fact that it might be that you guys might need to use some of those other makeup assignments down the road and you don't want to run out.
Yeah.
So on that note, I would say hold off because you never know. Let's say there's an assignment you completely miss and you'd rather use a makeup for that. Maybe by week 10 you go, oh my gosh, I missed one part of the week 3 assignment, but I missed 2 other whole assignments. Those are priority now,
Oh, okay.
So don't rush it. You don't have to hurry and do makeup assignments right away. So
do I
just
go back
know
and
that.
finish that one?
Yeah.
I would recommend going back and finishing it if at all possible, because you never know if something's going to happen of a serious nature in a couple of weeks. And then also speaking of that, Alicia, we know this is culinary school. We know everybody's learning, and this is new for a lot of people. So when we receive the actual assignment, Chef Matthew doesn't sit back and say, that's not like the stock I've made after working in the business 30 years. We understand exactly where you're at. And so the feedback and the information that you're going to get is going to be to help you improve and help you get better. And that's really what Chef Matthew focuses on in his evaluations.
Can I just ask, why do we go off dimensions when everything is going in the same stock and we're not eating that part of the stock?
Now what? Repeat that question?
Why do we have to do dimensions as far as large pieces, small pieces, and know the dimensions of the carrots and onions and everything that's going in the stock where you're not using that part? I feel like if it come out the same way you want it to, the pieces shouldn't matter.
Right. And you're absolutely right. When we get in the industry, we do rough cuts, and we don't worry about that too much. However, we need to drill home the knife cuts, and we want to make sure that you have a solid foundation. It's going to take you probably the remainder of your course to get to the point where you can produce those knife cuts on an efficient basis. For most people, that's the way it is. So we want you to practice.
Yeah, it's mostly practice, and it is important if you're making chicken stock. If you cut the mirepoix too small, it will disintegrate and make a terribly
Cloudy stock, cloudy.
Yeah, it'll make a terrible looking stock. And if you cut the pieces too big, you won't get the flavor out. So there is a reason besides practice. Practice is really the most important, but there really is good reason for that.
Does that answer your question, Alicia?
Yes.
All right, let's move on to the next person. How about Jacqueline? Jacqueline. Oh, Jacqueline. Jacqueline Lightfoot.
There she is.
Hi, Jacqueline. What's that?
Can you hear me?
There you go.
Okay, I have a question. With the makeup assignments, I'm currently trying to enter week 3 with my photos. So can I still go with the week 3 assignments and enter them there, or is there a place for makeup assignments?
Yes, you will see the makeup assignments. I think they're listed down on week 12 or on week 6. You can open those up and you'll see the makeup assignments listed there. However, you have up until Thursday night to submit week 3, Thursday night at 11:59 p.m. Central Standard Time for a 15-point penalty.
Thank you.
Which I'd recommend doing. All right, how about the other Sharon with a C?
Okay, it's kind of a personal question, going back to the chefs are always prepared ahead of time.
Uh-huh.
So I'm having surgery on November the 1st.
Cool, okay.
May I do like a couple of weeks of my assignments ahead of time, take the pictures, and then submit them that week?
Absolutely. What it takes, Sharon, is just the communication like you're doing right now. So I'll be glad to work with you. If you want to shoot me a message, I'll help you out, no problem.
Awesome, thank you. That's all I had.
You're welcome, no problem. How about let's see, where am I at here, Chef Matthew? I'm kind of lost with all these.
I think Amber Siebert next.
All right, Amber, what's up? Ground control to Major Tom. Okay. Do you remember that song?
I know that song.
Oh yeah. Okay. Amber.
Yeah. What? Hi.
Hi.
I was just about the week 4 thing again. I don't think my hand was still. I think our hand is still accidentally raised.
Oh, okay.
Week 4.
Oh, okay. No problem. We'll get back to you. All right. How about Petula? What's up?
Chef, like this week, when we were making the soup, I used fresh tomatoes. Is it okay for us to use that in place of the canned soup?
For the soup or for the tomato sauce this week?
Can I use it this week as well? I use it in the minestrone.
Yeah, that's fine in the minestrone. However, we're going to talk about why you shouldn't do that in the tomato sauce.
Okay.
Cool?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
How about Jeffrey?
Hey, Chef.
What's up?
Okay, I'm unmuted. I had a question about one of the things I noticed when I was doing the chicken stock, and I don't know if this is normal, about the 3 to 3.5 hour point, my stock started to get cloudy. I noticed that my vegetables started to be a little bit mushy. I yanked it off of the heat right away. Is that something that we need to be? I mean, it was crystal clear, almost like a consomme.
Mm-hmm.
But about 3 to 3.5 hour point, it's.
Okay, so what?
Do we lose you?
Okay, I'm back. Yeah, I froze for a moment there. Yeah.
I thought you were thinking.
I was, yeah. Jeffrey threw me for a wing dinger there. No, what that is, that's coagulation of proteins that are coming off of the chicken carcass. The coagulation of the proteins will have a tendency to cloud the stock. The way to prevent that is to ensure that you skim the top of that stock effectively. Make sure there is no white at the top. And then secondly, heat will also play a factor. So if you let it boil for too long of a time period, that cloudiness will develop as the proteins coagulate. However, the good news is that during the cooling period of that stock, a lot of that, the grayish matter that you're talking about will sink to the bottom of the stock. And you'll notice that when you go the following day, there'll probably be a small layer of coagulated protein at the bottom.
That's exactly what happened. That's what I noticed because I moved it in the mason jars to store it and stuff in the refrigerator. And that's exactly the next day I noticed that there was that layer. So, okay.
You're probably getting the coagulation of the proteins because the protein is found in the meat left over on the carcass. And that if you let it boil for too long or, that simmer is a little too high, that'll force that meat to do that.
Okay, that's good to know then. All right. Thank you.
And then Andrea.
Unmute. My question was just kind of on the makeup assignments as well. I'm going on vacation on October 30th till the 5th. So that kind of falls into two, like the end of a whole week and then the beginning of a week. So do I just do those assignments and turn them in next week with week 4? Like do them this before I leave?
Yeah, I'm totally down to working with you on that. When you communicate up front and say, hey, chef, I'm going on vacation. Hey, chef, I'm going to have an operation. Hey, chef, whatever. When you talk about it up front, then generally, if you want to send me a message, Andrea, then I'll work something out with you on the side so you don't have to use the makeup assignments.
Okay.
However, the area that we run into is when people call and they say, hey, I couldn't do my assignment last week because X, Y, and Z happened. Whatever the case is, it's after the fact. Chefs do not like after the fact situations.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. Good question. Good questions, everybody. I really appreciate it. Let's take a look at this week's assignment coming up here in CU 101. Can everybody see my screen over here?
Yep, looks good.
Is everybody taking a look at these videos? This is also the same video that is sent out to you via the Moodle message. Make sure you watch it on a regular basis. It gives you little hints and things that are going on in the class to help keep you up to date. You have a knowledge check. Don't forget that knowledge check is due by Saturday, right? So you want to get that done today. Take it 15 minutes after the meeting and you'll be done with it. Read the research materials. I've noticed some of the scores are a little bit low on the knowledge checks. You can take that knowledge check as many times as you like, and only the highest score will stick. So make sure that you read the research material where all the answers are, and then take the knowledge check, and you'll do quite well. Live session, thanks everybody for being here. That's awesome. Once again, if you can't make it, make sure that you watch the live session archive. You do get points for attending the live session, so it does affect your grade. Discussion forum, like I mentioned this week, it's a little bit different in the fact that it's going to be a reflection upon last week's sanitation. So that needs to be turned in by Saturday, please. It's very, very important. And then this week, boom, exciting. We're making fresh pasta, we're making Alfredo sauce, and we're also making tomato sauce. So that is what is on deck for everyone this week. Moving along, has everybody got your seatbelts on? We're gonna go fast now because we got a lot of information to get through. How many people out there have made tomato sauce before? All right, so we got a couple of you out there. We have a very classic recipe for making tomato sauce here. Don't worry about it if you don't consume pork. There are some people that don't. That's perfectly fine. You may omit that. That is not an issue, and substitute it with olive oil. That's my recommendation because you're going to need some fat. However, I do like using the salt pork because I think it adds that extra layer of richness to the tomato sauce. Tomato sauce in a lot of versions classically is made with roasted pork bones that help some of the collagen leach into the tomato sauce, gives it that depth of flavor that will make your tomato sauce next to none. You're going to render the salt pork, and what that means, and we use the term rendering, is to remove all of the moisture, and that happens by heating the salt pork up, sauteing it, moving it around in the saute pan. You're going to get those little bubbles, things popping. That is the moisture that is evaporating from the product. Mirepoix, do we all remember what mirepoix means? Yeah? Carrots, onions, celery, M-I-R-E-P-O-I-X. Live it, learn it, know it, because that's going to be heard for a lot of years for all of you. Mirepoix, carrots, onions, celery, you're going to sweat that after you sweat your pork product. And what we mean by sweat is it's going to be a lower temperature. You can add a little bit of salt, because what the salt does with the mirepoix is it opens up the vegetable fibers. It allows the moisture to excrete, and it allows that to tenderize and cook much quicker. You want your onions to be see-through, and you want your vegetables to be soft but not mush at the same time. Chef Matthew is not looking for any caramelized color on your mirepoix this week for your tomato sauce. So you just want to sweat the vegetable, and that's what we mean by sweat.
Sweat, you want to let the moisture out, so don't cover it. I saw a lot of lids on sweating vegetables for the minestrone. That shouldn't be covered with the lid.
Yeah, what we're trying to do is you're trying to get those vegetable fibers to open up, release the moisture, and allow the moisture to condense, right? If you keep a lid on it, you're not allowing anything to condense because you're preventing the dehydration process. So you want to condense the flavors of that mirepoix. Thank you, Chef Matthew, for bringing that up. That's a smart one. And then we're going to add your crushed tomato. The reason we don't like, you can add fresh tomato if you want to. That's perfectly fine. Nobody's, you're not going to get struck by the heavens for doing that. However, the fresh tomatoes do not have the concentration of flavor that we are accustomed to traditionally. I prefer to use San Marzano tomatoes in all of my cooking. They're a much more natural tomato. You always want to look for DOP on the can, and DOP is a designation by the Italian federal government that says that they are authentic San Marzano tomatoes from San Marzano, and there's nothing else in the can other than the tomato. So those tomatoes are steamed, and that's how they remove the skin, and then they're put into a puree, so they have a much richer flavor than fresh tomatoes. Fresh tomatoes will also make a very white tomato sauce, and it takes hours and hours to prepare that dish. So we always prefer to use the crushed tomato in the can. My preference, like I said, is San Marzano. If you can't, it's perfectly fine to use a store-bought label. That is not an issue. Now we're gonna be utilizing what we call a sachet in this dish. Is anyone familiar with the term sachet? Okay, sachet is something that you're going to use in a variety of different dishes. Yeah. There you go, Chef Matthew. It's also very common to be used in stocks. We didn't have you do it last week. We didn't want to confuse you, but a sachet is a critical element when it comes to cooking. I want you all to take a look at what it looks like here. This is a sachet that is up on the screen, I hope. Am I correct? Yeah. I was nervous about that. I got to get over that fear. Yeah. I wonder if there's a group of people that can help me. Like a screen share anonymous or something. Yeah. Okay.
I think they're on the Shark channel in Slack.
Yeah, there you go. All right, ladies and gents, a sachet basically is just a small bag that's filled with aromatics that we add to our sauce, because we don't want all these herbs and all these strange floaty things in our tomato sauce. So we want to keep them into a sachet, but we want to get the flavors at the same time. So what you're going to do is you're going to take a piece of cheesecloth. If you can't find cheesecloth at your store, don't lose any sleep. Use a coffee filter. They're widely available, right? And you're going to fill that coffee filter or cheesecloth with bay leaf, parsley stems, cracked black pepper. I think this recipe calls for a little bit of garlic, thyme, rosemary, whichever herbs you prefer. And you're going to fold it up into a little ball right here, and you're going to tie it off with twine, and then that sachet will go into your stock. Another common thing that we do in industry is right here, which is called a bouquet garni versus a sachet, which is simply leek. This large part here is leek, and then the fresh herbs are placed into the leek, and then we tie that off, and that will add the additional flavor of the leek. So when you are in industry and the chef says, hey, kick me out a sachet real fast, he wants parsley stems, black pepper, thyme, bay leaf in that product, and that would be a sachet, right? So you're going to simmer that tomato sauce for an hour, hour and a half. That simmering, once again, like Chef Matthew brought up, make sure you don't keep that sauce covered, and make sure that you are stirring it frequently. Tomato sauce loves to burn. It just happens, right? And you're probably going to get splattered. I don't think I've ever made tomato sauce without it splattering on me. I'd be insulted if it didn't. But you're going to want to do it over very low heat, right? And you're going to want to, every time you walk by, you're going to want to stir that every couple of minutes to ensure that it's not sticking to the bottom. That is just notorious with tomato sauce because of all the sugars in there. They like to caramelize on the bottom, which is bad. After that hour and a half, you're going to pull that sachet out, kick it out. And then you're going to use a food mill or an inversion blender to puree the sauce, okay? We do not use blenders, right? If you have to, if that's all you got, then use the blender and then pass it through a strainer. Blenders incorporate air into product. That's the way they are designed. If anybody's ever used a blender before, it's starting to spin and you look straight down into the blender and you see that that hole, that cyclone that develops in the center. That's because it's drawing air into the product. You're going to end up with a white tomato sauce, and we don't want that. So a food mill is these items up over here are what we're talking about. This is a ricer or a food mill that we traditionally use in industry. They're inexpensive. What do they cost, Chef Matthew? $10?
Yeah, 10, 15 bucks.
10, 15 bucks, yeah, something like that at the store. You just run it right through that and you'll have a gorgeous, beautiful tomato sauce. This is a China cap right here. And the China cap actually refers to the shape of the strainer. And then we just, with a mallet, we just push it down through. And then this is an immersion blender right here. And these are pretty common. They're fairly inexpensive, 20, 25 bucks. You don't have to run out and buy one just for this assignment. However, I have one, and in industry, we use them left and right to puree soups and many other things. Once you get that done, after you've run it through your food mill, you don't want to season until the very end. We don't season sauces at the beginning because of the hydration and the change in flavors. Always season at the end. And when you go to season, rule number 1 of a well-seasoned chef is to always add in stages, okay? Because of the fact it's easy to add a little bit more, but it's pretty hard to take some out. So you want to add taste, right? You want to make sure that that sauce covers your tongue completely and you have that nice, rich tomato sauce flavor. If it is very bitter or acidic, you can add a slight touch of sugar, and that sugar will take away the acidity of your product. If your tomatoes are rather acidy, that will help out quite a bit as well. Once your sauce is chilled and cooled down, you can freeze it in Ziploc bags, right? Label, date the outside of the bag, or you can freeze it in quart-sized jars, or you can eat it with the fresh pasta that you're about to make. Yeah. And then let's take a look at our recipe here really super duper fast. Did I get everything on that, Chef Matthew?
Yeah, that sounds really good, Chef.
Okay, good. I'm trying to go fast so we don't run over time because I always get in trouble for that.
It's making me hungry. You said it. You did a good job on it, Chef.
Oh, good. Anybody else out there getting hungry? Yeah. All right. All right. Okay, so this is our recipe this week. This is just a quick reminder of everything I've talked about. We've got salt pork or bacon. Once again, if you don't eat it, don't worry about it. Just go ahead and substitute with a little bit of olive oil. About a tablespoon of olive oil will hold you over quite well for this. Onions, you want to make sure that you dice those according to the recipe. It's very, very critical. Like Chef Matthew was saying, it does affect the cooking times if you have a lot of inconsistency in that product. Canned tomatoes, I prefer the San Marzano. If you can't, just use Hunt's or your store label. That's perfectly fine. Sachet, we talked about that, right? Cheesecloth coffee filter filled with the peppercorns, thyme, rosemary, parsley stems if you prefer. A little bit of sugar only if you need it. I don't like to add sugar to the tomato sauce. I don't find it very appetizing. Make sure you run it through a food mill and not a blender. Strain it and then store it properly, or eat it even better. Moving on to the next thing. How many people out there have had the pleasure of making fresh pasta? Anybody? Yeah, look at Jeffrey down. He's all excited. Yeah. Like Royce is on, and Paula down there is all happy. Yeah. So we got a few people. Making fresh pasta is an art, and it is an exciting experience. Someone asked earlier today, and I thought it was a great question. They wanted to know if they could add additional flavors to the pasta. And I love that thought, and I love that mentality. However, for this exercise, we really want you just to focus on the recipe so you can learn the technique. Once you've learned the technique, then we can talk about creating a green pasta, a black pasta, creating an orange pasta, making dual color pastas. It's pretty much unlimited and up to you. A couple of things about pasta. There are more than 600 different varieties of pasta that are common on the market. From penne to ziti to fettuccine to linguine to tagliatelle, and the list goes on and on. Now, most pastas, everybody really needs to focus on this next part. This is really critical to your culinary education. Most pastas are made with what we call semolina or durum semolina pasta, or flour, I'm sorry. Durum semolina flour is very high in protein, about 13%. And durum is the variety of wheat, and semolina is the grind. Okay? So you don't have to utilize that in this particular exercise. I just want you to be aware of that. The AP flour that this recipe calls for will work perfectly fine. The big thing that we are concerned with when it comes to creating pasta is the development of the glutens. How many people out there are familiar with what gluten is? Some of you. Okay. Gluten is not found in flour. Right? It's a big misnomer, okay? There are two proteins that are found in flour, glutenin and gliadin, right? Those two proteins, when they are combined and then kneaded with a liquid, glutenin, gliadin, combined, they're naturally occurring in the flour. But when glutenin and gliadin are kneaded with a liquid, they create strands of protein that are called gluten. Gluten creates the structure in breads, cakes, pies, everything else. That's what holds the house together. When you think of gluten, think about the walls in your house. That's what they are. Flours. There's a bunch of different types of flours on the market. There's cake flour, pastry flour, all-purpose flour, bread flour, semolina, etc., etc. They all have different levels of protein, right? A cake, for example, is going to be nice and crumbly, right? It's going to kind of fall apart. You want to use a flour like cake or pastry flour that is very low in protein so you don't develop a lot of glutens. Pastry flour has about between 8 and 10% protein in it, the glutenin and the gliadin, that will develop the gluten. So you're not going to get a really tough textured product. All-purpose is a little bit higher, between 10 and 12% protein. That's what we use for this exercise, and it works quite well. Bread flour, where you want like a nice, everybody's had a nice tough French bread out there that's real chewy, right? That's got between 12 and 14% protein. So that's going to develop a lot more glutens as you knead it. So to make the pasta this week, it's not as complicated as it seems, like everything else in life. Once you do it, it actually finds out it's a lot easier. So taking a look at the screen this week, making pastas, quite simple. I'm very passionate about it myself. It's something I love to do. I find it very soothing and tranquil. You're going to start by making a mound of flour on your clean work surface. So I like to call it a volcano. And then you're going to make a hole in the center of your volcano. Okay? Then you are going to add your eggs, your oil, and your salt to the hole in the volcano. Okay? Then you are going to take a fork and you're going to begin spinning that fork, mixing the eggs, oil, and salt, and beginning to incorporate and draw a little bit of the flour in with each stroke. As you continue to do that, that flour is going to get all incorporated, and then you're going to have to begin kneading the product, which is being done right here. Kneading the product, you're going to take your ball of pasta dough, you're going to push down and through the pasta dough, and you're going to do that for about 10 to 15 minutes until those strands of gluten are developed. The kneading process develops strands of gluten. Pasta stays together. Your dough should look somewhat similar to this when it is done. Right down here in the left-hand corner of the screen. Would that be left-hand corner, Chef Matthew?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay. Whew. Glad that's first. Okay. So your dough should look something similar to this when you're done. It could look a little bit more pockmarked, not as smooth, but The consistency or the texture that you're looking for, it should be slightly sticky. Be conscientious about adding more flour because once again, it's like seasoning a sauce. You can add more, but you can't take it out. So you want it. I always compare it to when my daughter gives me a little kiss on the cheek before she goes to school. That little, and that's how it should feel when you touch the dough, right? It should just kiss your finger as you're pulling it away. It should be slightly sticky. Now here, once we go to, after you've done this, you're going to cover your dough for about 15 minutes. Cover it with plastic. Let it rest. You're letting those glutens relax and get to themselves. And then you're going to roll out sheets. If you do not have a pasta roller, do not stay awake and lose sleep. It is perfectly fine. Pasta rollers are inexpensive, 10, 15 bucks. You can get some cheap ones. And then you're going to roll the sheets out by starting at the lowest number, which is traditionally 0 or 1, and working your way up to about a number 5. Your sheets are going to want to be about 1/8 of an inch thick for this exercise. If you do not have a pasta roller, simply use a rolling pin and bring it down. Make sure your sheets are very thin, about 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch. After your sheets are rolled, right, you're going to flour both sides. Make them nice and smooth, just like this. And then you're going to fold it into what we call a trifold, which is down here on the bottom right-hand corner. You're going to fold one end over and then fold the other end over, right? So you're folding it 3 times, okay? And then you're going to slice that pasta dough about 1/4 inch thick, right? You should have already started your boiling water at this point in time, because as soon as you get done preparing this pasta, you're going to want to put it into the water and cook it right away because it is delicious. Cooking fresh pasta is an art. Not really, but it's just as long as you tell people that and you sound fancy. But what you want to do, we add salt to water when we cook pasta. The salt is not for flavor. The salt increases the boiling temperature of the water. And when the boiling the higher the water is, the more starch is going to be extracted and the more durable your pasta is going to become. So it's extremely critical. And you're only going to want to cook this pasta 40 to 60 seconds at the most. When it floats to the surface, it is done and it needs to be strained, right? This is not dried pasta. The 10-minute cooking time does not apply, okay? Mm-hmm. If you choose, you can hold this pasta for an extended period of time. You can hang it out over a rack. I've used broomsticks before. I've used multitudes of different things. Just make sure you let it hang till it dries, and then it can be packaged. It'll have a couple of weeks shelf life on it, and it's quite delicious as well. So do we have any questions about the pasta exercise here?
Chef, can I say a couple things? And
please do.
There were two things really. I mean, I've seen a lot of students make this pasta, and I've seen a lot of issues that you have. 2 of the big things I see, one is mixing the dough enough. So you want to make sure you mix that dough enough. And the way I judge it is I mix it and I knead it on the table, just like they're showing in the picture. And then when it reaches a point where I push on it with my thumb and it springs all the way back up, it's done. That's how you can tell it's springy enough. If you push your thumb into the ball and it doesn't bounce back, then it's not springy enough. You haven't mixed it enough.
Good call.
And then the other thing is, Chef pointed it out and had a really good picture of where that dough is folded over before you slice your noodles.
Fettuccine.
Yeah, if you don't fold that over, you're going to be trying to slice a big sheet like this. You're going to be trying to slice it really long. You're going to have noodles that look like they were cut with a spatula and a 30-weight set of ball bearings. I mean, it's going to look like a mess. It's just not going to work. So roll that pasta sheet up and cut it in slices. Also dust it a little with flour so it doesn't stick to itself when it rolls up.
Yep. Absolutely. Good points. Thanks for bringing that out. Definitely, the spring back to ensure that you've developed enough gluten is critical. Remember in the recipe that it calls for a 10 to 15 minute kneading time. That's really super duper important. when it comes to making this recipe. As well, when you strain it, you're going to want to eat this pasta quickly. In industry, what we do is we cook the traditionally dried pasta. We don't work with fresh pasta as much. We'll cook 40, 50 pounds of pasta at a time. Then we put it, after it is cooked halfway, which is blanching, we put it into large ice baths, and then we drain it, oil it, and then we portion it into Ziploc bags. So when you order a bowl of a penne pasta with bolognese sauce, we'll quickly drop that pasta into a little bit of water to heat it up and then put it into the bowl. So that's why you get your pasta so quickly in restaurants. It's because we have pre-prepared that product for you to make it more convenient. Let's take a quick gander at the recipe to make sure that everybody understands. We're all on the same page. This recipe, it's only 6.5 ounces or 6 1/4 or 0.4 ounces of bread or all-purpose flour. AP flour is perfectly fine. You don't need to go out to buy 5 pounds of bread flour for this. 2 eggs, olive oil, drizzle. Remember, just make the volcano, put a hole in the volcano, put your liquid into the volcano, fork, mix, stir, knead 15 minutes, let rest. It's that simple, folks. And then you can go from there. And we talked about the fact if you don't have a pasta machine, don't lose any sleep. It's perfectly fine. You can use a rolling pin. Fettuccine, the dimensions are 1/4 inch by about 10 to 12 inches. Like Chef Matthew was saying, the book fold, make sure you do that. The trifold, lightly flour each side so the pasta does not stick. I hope that, hold off on your questions there. We'll get to those here in just a few minutes. Make sure that you do salt that water because you do want to get that temperature up high enough when you cook the pasta. It'll help it hold together. Ready? And our last recipe for this week, Alfredo sauce. How many people out there enjoy Alfredo sauce? Right? And Alfredo sauce, this sauce is thickened by what we call reduction. So it's technically a reduction sauce. And our previous sauce, the tomato sauce, is thickened by pureeing. The Alfredo sauce is thickened by reduction. It is an extremely simplistic sauce. Do not overthink it. Do not get overly creative. When you say Alfredo sauce, your customers have a particular flavor on their palate that they've already become accustomed to. So if you come out with some crazy version, it's not going to work out so well. So traditional Alfredo sauce, way back when, like before Chef Matthew and I were born, was made with just Parmesan cheese and butter. But since they've gone on to use the heavy cream. Now in industry, I like to use a lot of Alfredo sauce because it's a thick, heavy sauce. And that sauce holds very well on buffets. So if you're ever doing any type of buffet service, it will insulate your food and create a nice layer to keep your food looking fresh and hot. So it's highly recommended to write on to your menus. Basically, what you're going to do, we're going to take a look over here at the pictures of Alfredo so I can explain it a little bit better. Let's see. Okay, Alfredo sauce. Basically, all you're going to do is you're going to be just, you're going to sweat your garlic if you choose to use garlic just a little bit. You just want to sweat it. You don't want to brown it. You don't want to caramelize it. And it should be chopped garlic, right? Not sliced, not minced, but chopped. Chopped is about 1/16 of an inch by 1/16 of an inch. Anything smaller than that, garlic will really pick up a different flavor. Sliced garlic tastes different than minced garlic. Minced garlic tastes different than chopped garlic, right? So you want to use about 2 fresh garlic cloves chopped up. You're going to saute them lightly in just a little bit of olive oil. Light sweat, no color. And you're going to add your cream. And you're going to let it reduce by about 1/2. I like to only let it reduce by 1/3 because I know the longer I keep it over the heat, the more it's going to reduce. So it's easier to reduce a little bit more. If you reduce it too far, you run into the potential of breaking the sauce and having the sauce separate, right? So that's not good. So you don't want to serve a sauce that's oil and coagulated proteins. At that point, you don't want to season the sauce until the very end. And then this sauce is not to be served over the top of pasta, but rather as tossed in the pasta, which is very, very critical. It's kind of a classic mistake that a lot of people make. Don't pour your Alfredo over it. It needs to be tossed into the sauce. Let's take a quick look at the recipe. Make sure we're all on the same page, ladies and gents. Heavy cream, butter, garlic, Parmesan cheese, salt, pepper. That's all it is to Alfredo sauce, right? This one, combine heavy cream, butter, garlic, saute pan, bring to a simmer, reduce by 1/4. Like I said, I like to go to about 1/3. Here, we're talking about using the nappe consistency. One more time. Last week, we used the nappe with the veloute sauce. You're going to stick your spoon into the sauce. You're going to rub your finger down the backside of the spoon, and your sauce should stay separated. That is referred to as nappe. Okay? Then you're going to add your Parmesan cheese, which will slightly thicken it. And then you're going to put your pasta into a saute pan, and you're going to toss it and then put it into the bowl. Right? I like that motion, Chef Matthew. I like that. Yeah. So it is critical if you choose to garnish this dish. You know what? There's some things you shouldn't mess with. It's like painting a Mercedes pink. It just doesn't look good anymore, right? So if you want to garnish this dish, maybe a little bit of chopped fresh parsley, maybe a little bit of Parmesan over the top. That's it. Don't kill it. It's not necessary. All right, ladies and gents. Let's take a quick look at our assignment page this week. Once again, to make sure that we're all on the same page here. And Chef Matthew is going to be so happy when we see everybody submit your assignments. Is it up?
Yes.
Okay. Chef Matthew is going to be so happy if we can get everybody to get their assignment in by Sunday. There you go. That'll be awesome. Yeah. All right, self-identification.
Sunday. Sorry.
Yep. Self-identification photo. If you're doing all this in one sweep, you can take one photo. Make sure you're holding up week 4 to signify week 4, right? Sanitizing bucket. Once again, if you're doing all this at the same time, just snap one photo and you're good to go. And then with your Alfredo sauce, you're going to have a picture of the mise en place set up on your cutting board there. Then your simmering sauce. And then showing the nappe consistency. Walk in the park, 3 photos, done. Tomato sauce, right? Medium diced veg up against a ruler. That's the way Chef Matthew likes it. Proper mise en place on your cutting board. Vegetable sweating. Do not caramelize your vegetables. Only sweat. Simmering sauce. And then the final sauce after the puree. And it does specify in here, food mill, handheld blender, processing through a colander. The preference is not to use a blender because that just incorporates air. Here, if you do not have a pasta machine, use a rolling pin for pasta. Simple, simple, simple. Mise en place on the cutting board, flour, the volcano with the liquid in it, and then create your dough ball, properly kneaded dough covered in plastic, pasta rolled out, pasta tossed with Alfredo or tomato sauce, either one. Now, narrative sheet, a couple of questions this week on the narrative sheet. You can use one narrative sheet for all 3 items. Save the paper, save a tree, right? So I know Jeffrey likes that because he works for Google, so we want more Google Sheets, right? So we want to save a tree. It's very, very important. So you can use one narrative sheet for all 3 items. So let's get to some questions here real quick. Chef Matthew, you want to unlock the first one?
Is that Amber? Would that be the first one?
Amber. Amber.
Hi. Hello.
Hi.
Okay. So about the Alfredo sauce, all I can see is heavy whipping cream. Is that okay, or I have to find whipping specialized cream for whatever, you know?
No. Heavy whipping cream is primarily what we use, or we use manufacturing cream in industry quite a bit. Manufacturing cream is going to have a little bit of a higher fat content, so you're going to get a little bit of a richer flavor that's very difficult to find in the retail environment. So heavy whipping cream is perfectly fine. It shouldn't be called whipping cream. I don't know why they do that, but it is just heavy cream is technically what you're looking for.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Next.
Tyreek.
Tyreek, what's up, buddy?
Hey, yo, what's up, Chef? Hey, 2 questions. The first one is, can you explain the process of sweating to me? Like the sweat and whatnot? And the second question is how do I get, without burning the sauce, like how do I get the Alfredo sauce to act right? Because I tried it and I burnt it.
Okay. Don't worry about that. That's nothing unusual there, Tyreek. Number one, the sweating of the vegetables, once again, is going to be over a lower temperature. You do not want any color on the vegetables. You can add some salt to the vegetables. What we are trying to do is to break down the vegetable fibers, release the moisture, and condense the moisture to create more flavor in the vegetables. The salt helps break down those fibers. Once the vegetables, for example, the onions become translucent, right? You can see through it, right? Tyreek, right? So, or the carrots and the celery become soft as well, then they are done sweating. As far as the Alfredo sauce is concerned, what you want to do is you want to make sure you reduce it over a lower heat. Traditionally in the restaurant industry, we'll use a wooden spoon to stir that. You don't want to use a whisk because you're not trying to incorporate air into the sauce. You're trying to prevent the sauce from burning to the bottom. Do it over a lower heat. If you do it on a higher heat, the sauce at the bottom of the pan gets too hot too fast and it sticks, and that's where you get that burn flavor from. Does that work, Tyreek? Cool, man. Thanks. Who's next? Rudy. What's up, Rudy?
How you doing today, Chef?
Good. How are you?
All right. I do have a couple of questions. One, how long will the sauces, if we make our sauces ahead of time, how long will they last? Or should we freeze them, or should we just put them in the fridge? How long will they last in the fridge?
Okay. Great question. Alfredo sauce is what we refer to as an a la minute sauce. Make sure you learn that, know that, and love it. Alfredo sauce a la minute means prepared to the last minute. That is not a sauce that you're going to want to prepare in bulk and keep in your refrigerator, because reheating it requires reconstitution, and often it will break and separate. So Alfredo sauce, you want to prepare that to order. Just only make what you need. Tomato sauce, after it is properly cooled, you can freeze it indefinitely. In the United States of America, there is no expiration date on frozen food. Does everybody understand that? Mm-hmm. You can go to a grocery store, that food can be in the freezer from the day that Eisenhower was elected, and they can legally sell it to you. It's perfectly legal. So you can freeze the tomato sauce. As far as the pasta, you can dry it, and it's good for a couple of weeks.
And then my other question is, for each assignment, do we have to do an identification and the sanitation bucket for each one?
No, if you're doing them all at the same time, no, it's just one clean shot. Chef Matthew's good with that.
I can see the dates on your photos, so if you're doing it all in one shot, hey, I don't mind. It's just like if you went to work one day and you're going to make 3 things, you get your Sandy bucket and you make 3 things and then move on to the next thing. If it's 3 days, then you're going to make 3 Sandy buckets. So.
And then I think actually my last question was answered in the group.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry, I froze again.
You got frozen again, Chef?
Yeah. Did you get the last question from Rudy?
Yep. We're good.
Oh, you're good? Okay, let's move on to the next one. How about Paula?
Hi. First of all, my dad loves to burn his tomato sauce. He loves having a thing of, because it tastes like the old time cooked sauce for a long, long time. But my question was about the pasta. I have like every KitchenAid attachment, so I can just throw my pasta through the fettuccine maker. Is that okay, or do you want me to?
Perfectly fine. Perfectly fine.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yep. How about Sharon? Sharon. What's up, Sharon?
Me again. I had a question on the discussion. I have posted my discussion, but I couldn't find anywhere to do responses. Are we not doing those this week?
No, there's no responses required this week. It is just a reflection sheet. So you're going to fill out the information. In regards to not being able to see other people's responses, there were a lot of questions regarding that last week. When you make your initial post, there is a lag time between when you write it and when you can see other people's responses. The reason they set the system up like that, I think years ago, they were having problems with people going in and reading what other people wrote and then just copying and pasting it again. So they created this lag time into the system. So
Okay, thank you.
you're welcome. How about Jacqueline Brown? Jacqueline. Jacqueline?
Let me unmute myself.
No, you're good, Jacqueline. You're good. Go. I can hear you.
I make my own Alfredo sauce.
Uh-huh.
So do I need to use the recipe that you guys have?
Great question. I thank you so much for asking that. It is critical that you follow the recipes that we have provided. The reason for that is, Jacqueline, I'm sure your Alfredo sauce rocks the house. But the reason for that is it's very, very important that you learn the actual techniques that we're teaching you. Because the techniques that we teach you here at Escoffier are going to be the same techniques that you are using in industry. And once you have mastered the technique of making the Alfredo sauce, in your next class, 121, you don't use recipes and you can go in any direction that you want to. Sound good?
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Alicia.
Yeah, my question is about the photo, the self-identification photo.
Mm-hmm.
You say we can use one for all three, but
If you're doing them simultaneously, yes.
Yeah, if you're doing them all at once.
Correct.
Wouldn't it be using the proper setup? Like, say we did the chicken last week, that was supposed to be on a cutting board, but then I'm switching over to a different one, which is a sauce. Wouldn't it be on the cutting board too? Like,
You're fine with your cutting board as well, because you don't have to worry about cross contamination as much this week, because you're primarily working with the same mise en place across all three, other than making the fresh pasta, which you're going to want to wash your cutting board.
okay.
Sound good?
Yep.
That's a good question, because I did see photos where I'd see vegetables or I'd see chicken, and then in the next picture I see chicken on that cutting board after vegetables, and I wondered, hey, did they wash that cutting board? I don't know. They have a sandy bucket. I sure hope they washed it.
Yep. All right. Alicia, that answers your question?
Oops.
All right. Rudy, did you have another question? I saw your name up there for a minute. No, you're waving it off. Ladies and gents, you guys are doing a fantastic job here in CU 101. I'm so excited to be moving to week 4, and Chef Matthew and I are very excited to see your growth so far. Please keep up the communication. Make sure each and every one of you are posting attendance on a regular basis. Posting attendance, completing a knowledge check, completing a discussion forum, submitting a weekly assignment, watching a live session archive. Don't go too many days in between completing or posting attendance, because we get worried about you, and then we have to check in on you and make sure you're doing all right. So make sure that you're posting attendance on a regular basis. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out. We got 2 more quick questions here. How about Petula? What's up?
Can you prep this ahead of time? Like, cut stuff up?
Absolutely.
Like before?
I encourage that. That would be awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
The reason why I ask, I have been doing that, and it makes it easier for me to prepare the dish.
Petula, that's what we're talking about when we say plan and prep ahead. I'm so glad to hear you're doing that. That is awesome. That's the way it works.
Thank you.
Oh, good job. Yeah, Rudy, your question came back, man. What's up?
Yes, sir. My question was, can we for the assignment, can we put our own spin onto it? Like, I don't know, like follow the recipe to make the stuff, but like for the final product, are we allowed to like add chicken or something like that, or do you want just like the sauce on top of the pasta?
After you take the picture, you can do whatever you want to with it.
Okay. So for the picture, as far as the picture is concerned, we have to do what's required. We can't add anything.
Exactly.
Okay.
That way I can grade it. I mean,
This way it's a level playing field for everybody. Number two, we know that you've learned the technique, and that is the way it rolls primarily in CU 101. Once you get into 102 or 121, you're going to have a lot of creative freedom to be adding, whether it be roasted chicken or a blackened chicken or whatever thing that you want to serve to with your Alfredo. But the next block, you'll be doing quite a bit of that.
Okay.
Sound good?
Yes, sir.
All right, Alicia, what's up?
My question's for Chef Matthew.
Shoot.
Lately I've been like, if we got 3 parts to an assignment, then I'll do 3 different links. But say we did the carrot cuts, and that'll all be in one folder, but it's submitted with that link, and then the chicken stock will be submitted with another link. Is that okay?
It's okay. It's tedious. It's easier for me if there's one link altogether.
Yeah.
And then there's just goes to one folder, and then you can have all your stuff separated inside that folder. It's just easier that way.
I'm using a cell phone, so it's kind of hard to get it all in one place.
Okay. And I didn't know that was more difficult. It makes sense though now that you say it. So, and your submissions are really good. So, keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Awesome. Great job. Great job, everybody. Thank you for all the wonderful questions this evening. We appreciate it. Make sure you're talking to Chef Matthew and I. We love talking to you guys. Any questions, let us know. Have a fantastic week. We'll see you in week 5. Bye, guys.